Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're going to dive into a truly, absolutely bizarre ancient text. I mean, we're talking about an empty ocean, severe penance, and steaming vessels of clarified butter. Yep, you heard me right, and they're all incredibly connected. If you think you've heard every ancient mythological origin story out there, well, you are in for an absolute treat today. We're looking at a fascinating narrative drawn directly from classic lore that blends these massive cosmic stakes with what I can honestly only describe as ancient mystical incubation procedures. Let's get right into it.
So we actually start off with this grand cosmic prophecy from Brahma, the universal grandfather, and he's setting these incredibly high stakes for a completely dry ocean that desperately needs refilling. All the foremost gods have gathered together, and they're essentially being told by Brahma to just disperse and wait. Because the ocean isn't just going to fill back up overnight, right? It's going to take a long, long course of time. And the solution? Well, it's going to come from a very specific bloodline, specifically the descendants, or agnates, of the great King Bhagiratha.
Which brings us to this brilliant hook from Yudhishthira. He asked the exact question we're all wondering and the one we're exploring today. How on earth was the ocean refilled? He actually directs this question to a saint named Lomasa, wanting to know all the nitty-gritty details of the achievements of this royal line. And it's just the perfect framing device, because it launches us directly into a flashback to explore the astonishing achievements of a ruler from the Ikshaku tribe, a guy named King Sagara.
Section 1. The Sunless Conqueror. Because, well, before we can talk about oceans being refilled, we really have to talk about the man whose desperate desire for a family started this whole chain reaction.
Now just look at the dramatic contrast here between Sagara's unmatched worldly conquest as a warrior and his profound, deep personal desperation for an heir. On the one hand, Sagara is an absolute force of nature. I mean, he wreaked havoc on rival tribes like the Haihayas and the Talajangas and brought the entire military caste under subjection. He is a man of dreaded name, endued with beauty and strength, successfully ruling over his kingdom. But look at the other side of this. Despite having total control of the earth, he is completely sunless. He's missing the one thing required to secure his legacy. It really highlights a deeply universal human truth. All that worldly power and success kind of means very little if you have literally no one to leave it to.
And this intense pressure brings us to the familial stakes. We're introduced to his two royal wives, who are absolutely central to this unfolding mystery. So Sagara has two queens. One is a princess of the Vidarbha race, and the other is a princess of the royal line of Sivi. And the text specifically notes that both women were incredibly proud of their beauty and their youth. So you can just imagine the immense psychological weight within this royal household. Two prominent, beautiful queens, a conquering king, and an entirely empty royal nursery. The need for an heir basically becomes the driving obsession of their lives.
Moving on to Section 2, Extreme Divine Penance. The crucial point here is understanding the extremes humans will go to for a legacy. It brings us to a journey of incredible sacrifice, because King Sagara decides that earthly solutions just aren't going to cut it anymore. He needs divine intervention.
The text lays out this rigorous, ancient procedure where Sagara, totally driven by desperation for a son, undergoes massive austerities. He doesn't just, say a prayer and hope for the best. He takes both of his wives and journeys to the treacherous sacred Mount Kailasa. Once they get there, they engage in exceedingly austere and rigid penances. And to take it to the next level, Sagara employs the deep contemplation known as yoga. He focuses literally all of his physical and mental energy into one singular goal, which is getting the attention of the divine. And guess what? All this intense focus actually works. It successfully summons the great god Shiva, the eternally existent one, the repository of eternal peace, and the giver of boons. The text describes him so powerfully as the slayer of the demon Tripura, the god of three eyes, and the holder of the Pinaka bow, carrying his well-known trident. As soon as this magnificent, frankly terrifying deity appears, King Sagara and his queens immediately fall at his feet, desperately proffering a single prayer, to have a son.
Section 3. Shiva's Bizarre Boon. Okay, let's really dive into this twist, because while Shiva is well pleased with Sagara's devotion, he doesn't just hand over a simple standard blessing. No, he delivers something incredibly complex.
Shiva structures a deeply specific, double-edged astrological prophecy, basically splitting a tragic and weird fate between the two queens. Based on the exact astrological moment the prayer was offered, Shiva dictates that one wife will give birth to 60,000 sons. That's right, 60,000. They will be valorous, choice men, characterized by exceeding pride, but they will all perish together. Talk about the ultimate be careful what you wish for scenario, right? Meanwhile, the other wife will give birth to just a single, valiant son, and he is the one who will actually perpetuate Sagara's race. With this heavy, prophetic bombshell delivered, Shiva simply vanishes from sight. He leaves the king and his queens exceedingly delighted at heart that they're finally going to be parents for sure, but they are now carrying this monumental, inescapable destiny.
Section 4. The Gourd and the Ghee. Let's see how this builds into one of the most fascinating and honestly surreal births in all of epic literature, once the queens finally become pregnant and head back to their abode.
The delivery day arrives, and it brings an immediate, massive shock. When the two lotus-eyed queens come to their due date, on one side, the princess of Sivi gives birth to a boy as beautiful as a god. He is the single, valiant son Shiva promised. But look at the other side. The princess of Vidarbha literally gives birth to something in the shape of a gourd, a squash, a literal vegetable. King Sagara, entirely reasonably given the circumstances, is absolutely horrified and immediately makes up his mind to just throw the bizarre gourd away.
But right before he can discard it, a grave and solemn voice booms down from the sky, stopping him dead in his tracks. The voice reveals that this is not an earthly mistake at all. This single gourd actually contains the staggering number of 60,000 sons prophesied by Shiva. The king is sternly warned not to be guilty of the hasty act of abandoning his children.
The voice then mandates this bizarre step-by-step mythological incubation procedure straight from the sky. It instructs King Sagara exactly how to save his lineage. Step 1, do not throw away the gourd. Step 2, carefully extract the seeds from inside the gourd. Step 3, and this is where it gets incredibly fascinating, preserve those seeds with care in steaming vessels partly filled with clarified butter. Yes, ghee. The king is instructed to use these hot vessels of ghee as a sort of ancient artificial womb to successfully incubate and grow his massive family of 60,000 sons. It's like a giant mythological puzzle.
The divine voice urges King Sagara to basically trust this highly surreal process, telling him, "Let not therefore thy mind be turned away therefrom." The voice assures Sagara that the great god Shiva ordained it to happen exactly in this manner. It might look like absolute madness to preserve gourd seeds in steaming pots of butter, but this is the exact divine mechanism by which the 60,000 choice, valorous sons will enter the world.
And this leaves us with a massive cliffhanger to ponder as we wrap up today's explainer. What happens when these 60,000 ghee incubated children finish growing in those steaming vessels? I mean, we know from Shiva's terrifying boon that they are destined to be exceedingly proud and that they are fated to all perish together. So how on earth will their prophesied destruction solve the cosmic problem we started with? How does the tragic end of 60,000 brothers ultimately bring about the refilling of the empty ocean through their bloodline? It's just a stunning reminder of how deeply interconnected creation, destruction, and sacrifice are in these ancient texts. Keep that question in the back of your mind as you consider just how far King Sagara went to leave his mark on the world.